Dear student, I am Dr. Prakash Mungli, Professor of Biochemistry. So in this lecture, I will be going over functions, genetic deficiencies of plasma proteins and different types of proteinuria. Let's get into the details. Functions of plasma proteins. Plasma proteins have a nutritive function because they are simple proteins and good source of protein, thus largely involved in nutritive functions. It is useful in hypoproteinemia states. They contribute to amino acids for tissue protein synthesis. That's what plasma proteins can be used for. Plasma proteins, they are involved in fluid exchange mechanism. So the colloidal osmotic pressure of plasma proteins plays an important role in the distribution of water between the blood and the tissues, and most importantly, this is maintained by the amount of albumin and the globulin that is present in the plasma. See, the third function of plasma protein is buffering actions. Proteins being present in the plasma, so whenever there is a alteration in the pH, that is the proton concentration, so proteins will act as an acceptor or donors of protons and thereby buffer the change in the pH. Coming to number fourth function of plasma proteins is they can act as a binding molecules or transporters of certain molecules in the plasma. Example, albumin. Albumin can act as a transporter of copper, it can act as a transporter of unconjugated bilirubin, transporter of steroid hormones. So these molecules, they act as a transporter. Then viscosity of the blood. So the presence of proteins in the blood, it will make the blood viscous because of the amount of globulins, amount of fibrinogen with the large structure, so it contributes to viscosity of the blood. And also plasma proteins, they serve as a reservoirs of proteins just in case of need for any essential amino acids. So plasma proteins can be degraded and amino acids can be derived from plasma protein. And also they participate in blood coagulation and fibrinolysis because we have clotting factors in the plasma, and we have in that we have fibrinogen and other clotting factors, so which will all participate in coagulation process. They also participate in immunological mechanism, that is defense against the invaders, especially the gamma globulins, which are IgG, IgM, IgD, IgA, IgE. All of them, they basically protect our body by acting as a defense proteins. And then enzymes. Enzymes are all proteins with very few exceptions, and enzymes, they catalyze the reaction, they enhance the rate of reaction, thereby substrate is converted to product in less time. Now let's move on to see genetic deficiencies of a plasma protein. And the first disorder that I am going to discuss here is FMGE. This is an inherited disease in which an albumin is very low or completely absent. Defect in albumin synthesis is seen, which leads to FMGE. This is usually associated with raised levels of plasma lipids and lipoproteins, which is probably secondary to defect in lipid transport. All globulin fractions will increase in concentration in FMGE, thereby generally in FMGE patients there is no edema seen because the colloidal osmotic pressure is maintained by increased levels of globulins. Next disease is bisalbuminemia. Here there will be two albumin peaks that is seen upon electrophoresis, and this appears not to have any clinical importance. Coming to Bruton's A-gamma globulinemia. It is an X-linked recessive trait where there is a differentiation of B lymphocytes to plasma cells is defective, tending to absence of gamma globulins, or gamma globulins are very low in this particular disorder. Coming to afibrinogenemia. It is a genetic defect in fibrinogen formation where there is absence of fibrinogen or very low fibrinogen is present. Because of this, there will be uncontrolled hemorrhage going on in the body. So these are some of the genetic deficiencies of plasma proteins. Now coming to proteinuria. So when protein appears in urine in detectable quantities, it is called as a proteinuria, and if the protein that is coming out in the urine is albumin, it is specifically referred as albuminuria. So there are two types of proteinuria. One is a functional proteinuria, other is organic proteinuria. So functional proteinuria is not related to a diseased organ. It is the amount of protein excreted is usually small, and majority of the cases will show less than 0.2% of protein being excreted, and the condition usually it is temporary, or it is usually the benign condition. Whereas organic proteinuria, it is seen in many pathological conditions that can cause damage to an organ and leading to proteinuria. Let's come to class retake. Let's see what are the causes for functional proteinuria. Number one is like violent exercise, which can lead to slight damage to kidney, and that can account for the amount of protein that appears in the urine on a temporary basis. So it is a temporary proteinuria. Cold bathing. Cold bathing leads to constriction of renal blood vessels and producing temporary anoxia, and that may lead to a functional proteinuria. Alimentary proteinuria. Alimentary proteinuria is occasionally proteinuria may occur after excessive protein ingestion, so that is referred as alimentary proteinuria. Pregnancy. During pregnancy, proteinuria is frequently seen, and this is probably as a result of pressure interfering with the return of blood in the renal veins. And then there is something called as orthostatic proteinuria or postural proteinuria. And this occurs chiefly in children or in adolescents, usually in the age group of 11 to 18 years. In these young individuals, the urine contains protein when they are in upright position. That means when they are standing. So when they are lying down, it is free from proteins. This is not due to kidney disease, but is probably due to some disturbances in blood supply to the kidneys, leading to venous stasis and temporary anoxia in the kidney. And that is what is referred as orthostatic or postural proteinuria. Coming to organic proteinuria. There are three types of organic proteinuria, which is referred as pre-renal, renal, and post-renal proteinuria. So the pre-renal is primarily not related to the kidney. Renal, various kidney diseases are the cause. Post-renal, it is either false proteinuria or proteins do not pass through the kidney. Now first let's look at the pre-renal proteinuria. Pre-renal proteinuria is the conditions causing proteinuria in this group are those that are primarily not related to kidney. In most cases, they affect the kidneys in such a way as to render it more permeable to the protein molecule. Example, cardiac diseases. Cardiac diseases, by affecting the circulation of the kidney, it leads to proteinuria. Like any abdominal tumors or mass of fluid in the abdomen does the same by exerting pressure on the renal veins. And then the fever. So fever, like convulsions, anemias, and other blood diseases, liver diseases, and many other pathological states can affect in a similar manner, like changes in the pressure leading to alteration in the blood circulation to the kidney, and that may lead to some proteinuria there. And coming to the cancer. Cancer also lead to pre-renal proteinuria because an increased amount of urinary mucoproteins generally accompanies elevated serum mucoprotein levels, and that has been observed in patients with cancer with the highest values when carcinomas leads to invasion or the metastasis, that leads to pre-renal proteinuria. And collagen diseases and inflammatory conditions also will show pre-renal proteinuria. So in renal proteinuria, we have acute glomerulonephritis, which is always associated with proteinuria. Chronic glomerulonephritis, proteinuria is seen in early stages but may disappear later as the kidney becomes more and more impaired. Nephrotic syndrome, there will be a large quantities of albumin lost in the urine, and there may be a gross hypoalbuminemia in this condition. Then nephrosclerosis, TB of the kidney and carcinoma of the kidney, all of them will lead to proteinuria. Now coming to causes for post-renal proteinuria. Post-renal proteinuria is sometimes referred as false proteinuria because the cause may not be due to changes in the kidney or changes in the organs prior to the kidney. It may be because of inflammation, degenerative lesions or traumatic lesions of the pelvis, kidney, ureter, bladder, prostate or urethra. So such changes may lead to appearance of proteins in the urine, and that is what is referred as post-renal proteinuria. So this is all about functions of plasma proteins, genetic deficiencies, disorders related with plasma proteins, and also different causes for proteinuria, which includes pre-renal, renal and post-renal proteinuria. Thank you.